Well, we've been really busy with NFL training camps. The latest when it comes to the news, Trey Hendrickson ending his holdout. He's reporting to training camp today. Chiefs wide receiver injuries, they just continue to piling up. The latest is Xavier Worthy in concussion protocol. And we also have Danny Kanell placed on the IR. He is dealing with a knee injury. He will be out for a significant amount of time. We're going to welcome in our former NFL quarterback and Danny Kanell. We're going to start with Trey Hendrickson here. The holdout is over. He's back at Bengals camp. There are reports that he's giving advice to Shamar Stewart, other videos showing him online signing autographs, but still no word on his contract. That's what we're all waiting for. Do you think this is just Trey extending an olive branch?
Yeah, I think so, Jenny, but I think it's a great sign, right? I mean, I think most Bengals fans have to be pleased. I feel like most of his teammates have to be pleased. I'm pleased because I never felt like they were going to lose out on Trey Hendrickson, whether they were going to try to move him or they weren't going to figure this out and potentially he could hold out through the season. I just didn't see any of those outcomes. And from everything you hear is that this is a show of good faith, that they're getting closer, and this might be the thing that kind of moves them across this finish line, especially if you're seeing that, you know, some of the disagreement is on the guaranteed money. It's not necessarily the total money, and they're kind of in the same ballpark. All right, I'm not going to put this team behind the 8 ball by missing out. I'm not going to be any more of a headline by not reporting to camp. I'm going to show up. Now you guys have to reciprocate, and I do think the Bengals will do that, will reciprocate. We'll see that. They'll come to that agreement, and I hopefully hope that this gets to the finish line and they can get this announcement done the next 2 or 3 days. I would expect for this deal to get announced.
I feel like we've been talking about Trey Hendrickson for months now, so I'm sure he wants it to be over. I'm sure the Bengals want it to be over. Hopefully they can come to terms. Patrick Mahomes, we're going to talk about the Chiefs next. He has been outspoken about his level of confidence in his wide receivers room, but you look at the injuries that have now been piling up. We just found out Xavier Worthy is dealing with a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Injuries to Hollywood Brown, Sky Moore, and that suspension coming to Rashee Rice. Should Mahomes' confidence turn to panic at some point, or is he in a good spot?
No, I think he's fine in the confidence area, Jenny. I mean, all he knows is playing at AFC Conference Championship games. That's the only where his career has kind of gone. Every single year he's been the starter. I do think it was interesting. We heard from Evan Washburn. He was sitting there and they were talking about stretching the ball vertically in practice and throwing the ball over the place. You know what happens when you do that? Players get tired. I think that's what this is about. I think this is Andy Reid being a veteran coach, realizing there's some nicks and bumps along the way and that these players might need some rest. It was going to be a lighter practice anyway today, an off day tomorrow. So if you can kind of steal an extra day or two of getting those players completely rested, I think that makes the most sense for the team. So not a cause to panic yet. Also, the nature of the injuries, they're all pretty minor ones: hamstring, ankle, head injury. I know those sound, that can be alarming to some people, but I think the nature of the injuries, nothing significant where it's time to panic just yet. This team also with so many veterans in that locker room, starting with Mahomes, starting with Travis Kelce, they kind of know how to prepare at this point. The one guy that I do want to see out there sooner rather than later is Xavier Worthy, who did show some signs last year, kind of caught on towards the back end of the season as being that lead wide receiver. I'm a little bit curious about where he is in this process, but I would expect him back soon too.
Concussion protocol, not something you want to mess with, but hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. Injuries at this point of the year, just so early in training camp, is nothing you ever want to deal with. But the Dolphins secondary is getting another blow for this one. Cornerback Kader Kohou, he's been ruled out for the season. The entire secondary will be different from a year ago when you look at it. It's not like they were that good anyway, 27th in the NFL last season with 16 turnovers. But with this much change, how can Mike McDaniel expect to have a stout defense?
Okay, if we were doing a panic meter, this one I would put pretty high. Like, I'm usually pretty low-key. Like, it's no big deal. But you're starting to see the amount of turnover. The one starting cornerback they had was Kohou, and now he's gone for the season with an ACL. Just a week after they lost Artie Burns, another secondary player in the ACL. They've had to sign 3 guys this past week alone in the secondary. Like, this is not the outcome you want if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. You start to see these season-ending injuries injuries already to a secondary that's been decimated, losing one of the better players in the league because they traded away Jalen Ramsey. This one has me concerned. I'm actually going to be at Dolphins camp on Saturday, so I'm curious to get a pulse of the team when it already feels like they've got to, instill some mental toughness. But boy, they are dealing with some severely adverse situations. Interesting. Keep an eye on Rasul Douglas, a player that they have a contract on the table for, but Rasul Douglas said, I don't want to play in Miami. I'm a Buffalo Bill. He's passed on a couple offers. Supposedly it's a standing offer. Maybe the Dolphins at this point of desperation give him a little bit more money, and that's what gets the deal closed. But I would expect them to add a veteran presence in the secondary when not going to the season with this many question marks.
So we actually have a panic meter up on CBSSports.com. This next one at a medium panic. So we got 37-year-old Matthew Stafford week to week with a back injury. He's missing his second week of training camp, and his status for week 1 is really up in the air right now. Is it more important that Stafford uses this preseason to rest or maybe build his confidence with his new group out there? What do you think?
Jenny, I'm pretty low on this one. I mean, I guess if you were trying to talk me into being more panicked, you have a 37-year-old with back issues, right? Like that's like just saying that out loud as somebody who's dealt with back issues, that can be very concerning because they can linger, they can all of a sudden impact everything you do. But I think this is an ultra cautious move for Sean McVay, and I think it makes total sense. I already think in a training camp setting, Matthew Stafford probably would have been limited with the reps to keep his arm fresh, his body fresh, because he's about to undergo that 17-game gauntlet that's being a franchise quarterback in the NFL. But I also know that Matthew Stafford's one of the toughest, most durable quarterbacks we've seen in the league. So I think this is more of a cautious approach. I'm not worried at all. I think Matthew Stafford will be fine. It gives some of the backups. They've got Jimmy Garoppolo out there getting reps, Stetson Bennett. It allows some of those backups to get reps with the team. He's a player who anyway, even without any injury whatsoever, probably would have gone less practice time than most starting quarterbacks because of where he is in his career. So I'm not that panicked at all about Stafford's health right here.
What 37-year-old doesn't have back issues? I feel like,
exactly.
It's just part of being old. I want to look.
You wouldn't know, though. You're not even close to that, so you don't have to worry about that.
Pretend. I like this game. We're going to talk about Minnesota next. Kevin O'Connell has shut down Justin Jefferson with a hamstring injury. What can we expect now, that connection between him and J.J. McCarthy, if he's likely not practicing?
So this one I think is a bigger deal for two reasons. One, you mentioned the connection with J.J. McCarthy. Like, he's been handed the keys to this franchise after they decided to move on from Sam Darnold. So he's a first-year starting quarterback who missed all last season. You want his continuity, those timing, rhythm, communication, just everything. You want to be on the same page with Justin Jefferson. So there's that concern. Then there's the bigger concern with Justin Jefferson, who's had these similar issues injury-wise, missed significant time with hamstring issues. So that makes me a little bit concerned, but it's also probably a reason why now in training camp they're probably taking him off the field, because the only thing to cure these is rest, right? And can be very frustrating for players. But if you're thinking about, all right, we've got to get to week 1, we want to have our, one of the best receivers in the league healthy, why waste risking even going through the motions or going through lightly in practice? You say, no, we want to take him off, make sure he's completely rehabbing, completely resting so that we have him week 1. But I do think it is somewhat concerning because the injury history, and also you really would like to see J.J. McCarthy developing that rapport with him now, as opposed to figuring out those things in week 1, 2, and 3 of the season.
I've got to ask about Cam Ward before we let you go. Brian Callahan just came out. He said some of the struggles that we've seen in training camp have come really from the team intentionally putting him in stressful situations. Where's your worry meter when it comes to Ward?
Not very significant. I expect him to kind of have an up and down year as it is. I think he'll put up some highlight real top plays, but you'll also see some rookie mistakes. Figure how you install offenses in the NFL. You start with very simple. They call them day 1 install. And then you go day 2 install, day 3 install, and you get more thrown at you every single day. So all of a sudden your workload gets that much more significant, and your brain starts to process these things. You get confused sometimes. All the same time, while the defense is installing more complex packages too. So I think this is completely normal. I think this is a part of the process. I could see Cam Ward kind of struggling, getting frustrated. The team maybe getting frustrated with him too. But this is the time to do it. This is the time to make those mistakes, to mess up the play calls in the huddle, to mess up the audibles, to throw an interception here or there. You want to see those now because this is when you learn. This is when you learn to eliminate those mistakes. So not surprised at all that Cam Ward's struggling. I think you would see this with a lot of rookie quarterbacks first few weeks of camps when things get a little bit overwhelming. So I'm not that concerned about Cam Ward.
Calvin Ridley also leaving with an injury. Danny Kanell with the latest in NFL training camp. Just a cramp, though, for Ridley, so that's good news. There's going to be a lot of more news coming our way when it comes to NFL training camps and every other sport. That's why we have you covered here on CBS Sports HQ. We are live 24/7, streaming free all the time. Check that QR code to download the CBS Sports app.